は僕らの手の中
Welcome back to the Weeaboo Corner. I am your host, Sloppy, with the very long-awaited return to Kaiji Gambling Apocalypse. This is Kaiji Gambling Apocalypse Volume 3, and you need a recap and a backstory. Not to the story, not to the Kaiji story, we'll get into that in a bit, but to what took so long and the literal odyssey that it's been to get this book in my hands. So, you can skip this if you want. I'll post a time code of when we actually start the review and retelling. But I pre-ordered Kaiji 3 back in early January when it came out for pre-order. And then Kaiji 4 came out for pre-order, and then I pre-ordered that. And I think I pre-ordered Kaiji 5. I haven't doesn't matter. Kaiji 3 I pre-ordered almost immediately as soon as I saw the photo for it, because I didn't think it was really legit. Because it just had no image available. I was like, is that real? So did my mom, and she didn't think it was legit. And so once the image came up, we were like, alright, it's got an image. You can pre-order it now. Yeah! And it was going to release in middle of March, and I made an announcement on one of the YouTube videos that released at the time. I was like, hey, look out for Kaiji 3 in March. We're gonna look at that shit. And then it got delayed until April. Then it got delayed until June. I made another announcement. Then it got delayed until middle of August. Middle of August came, middle of August went, no Kaiji. Then on August 26th is when it really actually said that I was going to release. August 26th would be arriving at 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. by the latest. And I sat my ass at that door the entire day. Just watching YouTube, nothing. August 10 p.m. came. August 10:15. August 10:30 p.m. Then August went. Then I asked myself and my mama, where the fuck is Kaiji? Then it said it would release in September and then October. And now at this point, I was done. I was pissed. 'Cause that's like 9 fucking months right there. 9-10 months. I am just super PO'd. I went to Denpa's Twitter. I was like, hey, where's Kaiji 3, baby? Come on. And, like, we've been having a real big issue with the printers. That's why we had to constantly delay it. Every time we went there, it was never printed. So we've had to constantly delay it. And I was like, well, fuck, that sucks. And we had a little bit of a back and forth over it, and that was that. Then December 8th, a specific date, December 8th, also like August 26th, I was like, hey, right when that day came out, I was like, hey, is this the actual day? Is this the final delay? And about an hour later, got a response, baby. I looked at it. The weekend of Anime NYC.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
We got physical copies in-house, baby. Oh, finally! And it arrived a little bit later, I think on the 16th. And then I opened up my Christmas Day gift. This was in it, baby. Mwah. I got it on Christmas. And then I got my grimy little disgusting weeby hands all over it. And I absolutely adore it. It's so good. It is so much fun. And I actually did a bite-sized review of it in my 1-year anniversary double feature extravaganza, which also features a review of a Jonathan Joestar from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Best Part 1 Phantom Blood. Link in the description below if you want to check that out. And I mentioned that I'd be making a separate review for Volume 3 of Kaiji over here, and that's might or might not be what you're watching right now. So yeah, I gotta make sure that the audio doesn't stop recording when I tilt it, because it's a little bit finicky. There you go. Yeah, I got a mic. I'm a real YouTuber now, Ma. Are you proud of me? No? Okay. Now, shall we get into the actual review? What you came here to watch several minutes into the video? Yes, I believe we do, and I just dropped that on my dick. That hurt. Anyways, before we actually get into it, don't worry, we will. Please leave a like and subscribe, and let me know what other manga series I should review. I'm currently trying to branch out my content and content style, so something is going to be happening in this video, actually. So please let me know what you think. And now, without further ado, 11.5 months into the making, Kaijis Volume 3 review. Enjoy. Kaiji originally began serialization in the 90s, and as a full series is going on by the original mangaka, Nobuyuki Fukumoto, and since then has become one of the longest-running manga series of all time, currently sitting at number 48 with 76 volumes, under the likes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure at number 9 with 131 volumes, Hajime no Ippo at number 8 with 132 volumes, One Piece at 22 with 101 volumes, and number 1's Dokaben with 205 volumes. But in the West, Kaiji only has 3, and oh boy, we are just getting started with the story of Kaiji over here. Kaiji had begun with his Yakuza entangled journey and by co-signing on his friend's sizable loan from a loan shark company, which led him to playing rock, paper, scissors on the graveyard ship known as Espoir, where he learned true betrayal from the first man who had approached him with friendship, Funai, and from those who he had rescued, Ando and Fuhurata. At least Fuhurata had the balls to make an attempt to save Kaiji after Ando sold their extra first star, and which entangled him in the route of greed, which still bit him back in the ass by the end of the day. But through his wits and taking his life into his own hands and the willingness to commit violence as a front, he saved himself and another failure, Ishida, from a life of slavery to the Yakuza, which we had soon come to know was a bad move, as Kaiji could have walked away with enough money from selling the 2 extra stars Ando and Futurata had attempted to sell with the money that he had gotten his hands on to escape servitude, to pay a rather large portion of his now new, larger even, 6.2 million yen debt, which is about $620 million here in the States. 4 months later, Kaiji is able to land a job at a convenience store known as a konbini in Japanese, to begin the honest man's working life, to start chipping away at the mounted debt that rests on his back. The downside of his choices within the story is not only the job being made available to him is fairly minimum wage, even lower than that actually. It also just doesn't pay near enough to lose the current debt, since there's a compounded interest of 18% annually, meaning his current debt would be paid off when he meets his mid-40s. But even at that time, the current debt becomes null and void because of the interest rates as the values of his debt. And with that, he's stuck in eternal limbo until a devil in disguise arrives on Kaiji Street once again. Endo, who gets Kaiji's co-worker Sahara into the game hook, line, and sinker, with Kaiji following soon after. All 60 participants meet up at different times at the 3 skyscrapers that make up the Starside Hotel to participate in the most tense gamble shown in the over 1,500 pages within the covers of Kaiji Gambling Apocalypse. Now, I know that isn't a high bar at this point, since there have only been 2 major gambles so far, with the first being the restricted rock, paper, scissors game on the Espoir, and the second one being a human racehorse, Brave Men's Bridge, the Human Derby, Indiana Jones's Walk of Fucking Truth, the Steel Frame Crossing, where all 60 men in 5 sets of 12 walk across steel beams that ride in between 2 of the various buildings that make up the Starside Hotel, and if they slip and fall, they'll land on mats and possibly live. It's kind of like the 10 pints of blood trap in Saw, where the 2 finalists can give each other 5 pints of blood and possibly live, but with debilitating injury. Same goes here. You fall and live, but you could live the rest out of your days. You could live the rest of your days laying on a hospital bed, or you could walk across the beam with the man in front of you, pushing them down and killing them. but you gotta continue shimmying across and possibly succeed in the gamble. The first group of 12 begins their shaky walk across within mismatched order, in a crowd of the super rich enjoying fine dining, and the walls throw it with a show of wits nearby, providing entertainment while doling out jeers and insults toward the contestants. And as they get into the 25% mark, the first contestant falls, tripping up on his shoes, breaking both of his legs on the fall, howling out in pain, which gives a boost of confidence to the other contestants that even with the challenge and obvious medical danger ahead, they're all willing to partake if there's still a chance of survival, which they believe there is. And once they meet the 50% mark, more contestants need to fall, and if they, and by extension Kaiji, want to win and survive. Kaiji's Beam, though, there's 3 walking across it at once, and any attempt to push one another off will end up with 2 dropping. But with an attempt made by the third person in line, Kaiji trying to defend himself and by extension hitting and knocking the guy in front of him off balance, 2 will land across the beam on their junk, spread eagle, with Kaiji's body disappearing into the depths below. All 3 fall, 2 land, and we don't know what happens to Kaiji. He disappears into the depths under them, possibly to a mat, maybe to the concrete, save for his fingers, which cling to the steel beam, saving his body but disqualifying him from the prize. After those in the first group meet the end of the beam, only 6 are awarded, as the others either came late or were disqualified. By this point, all the survivors are moved to a separate room, and the agonizing long 10 minutes across the beams comes to a close, as does the grueling hellish night that they have at the Starside Hotel. And to the victors go the spoils. Tickets, that is. Each winner was promised 20 million yen, or 10 million yen if they came in second place. But at this point, they're only given a ticket worth that much. Only thing is, there's an extra ticket worth 10 million yen. There was only 1 survivor from the 5th group of 12. Kaiji asked to fill its place and has met with praise from none other than the master of the Espoir, Tongawa. With the rest of the participants pissed beyond belief that they've been cheated out of a money prize for a slip of fucking paper, worth nothing in the real world, but within this world of the Yakuza, that ticket is a lifeline, and within date, it's worth whatever number of money's written across it. With only 2 measly hours left before their money is gone forever, they gotta get to another building's 22nd floor. But there's a catch. The buildings were never finished with their construction. There's no elevators and no stairs unlocked. There's only one way across for our participants. They look beyond a curtain as it drops. Another steel beam crossing is left open to them. There's no padding or floor below them, as they're on a much higher floor than they thought. No audience below them cheering while eating steak and potatoes. Nothing. They look down and find no floor, net, padding below them of any kind. Nothing but a sickening air that occasionally gusts upwards like a terrifying cackle from death himself, waiting for 1 or 2 to fall. Tongawa recounts to the other Yakuza guards. Once these men step on, they'll truly become stars. And that was my recount and retelling of Kaiji Volume 3, clearly condensed down to fit into a reasonably lengthened video. And now it's time to begin the review proper, and actually review and talk about the positives and some of the negatives, very few, of Kaiji Gambling Apocalypse Volume 3, and not just, go over the events within the pages. First, I'll begin with the art, as I usually do. Nobuyuki Fukumoto has a very different and distinct art style compared to other manga and anime, especially of its time, and definitely today. If you go back and watch Kagi, which is mostly about Mahjong, or any episode of Kaijis, it is wildly different in comparison. Straying away from conventionally attractive characters to be able to contort the facial expressions in any way needed, to be able to pull off specific emotional range, or to whatever extent it is required, to whatever effect is desired, as well as being able to put the character's personality directly onto the person's face, with the best example being Ando from the Espoir, and to an extent Funai also from the Espoir. Their big noses they both betrayed Kaiji for their own twisted goals of succession, Endo being because He just sees money at the end of the day, and not Endo, fuck. Ando, at the end of the day, sees money as his main goal of the night. And Funai is kind of known as a rookie killer who just wants to get as much stars and money by the end of the day as possible because he doesn't have any real debt, because he'll get all the stars and points he needs and sell them off and pay his debt off in that one night. They both have rather large noses, and Kaiji originally approaches Ando, and Funai approaches Kaiji. Both people who have betrayed either Kaiji has approached or have approached Kaiji. As has the old man that Kaiji saves from servitude, Ishida. He also has a rather big nose, but both times, in the beginning of the Human Racehorse Derby, or in the Steel Bar Cross, I believe that Steel Beam Cross is, I believe, what it's called in the Japanese release, directly translated, maybe with a grammar switch. The old man Ishida, who Kaiji saves from servitude, he's there too. By the way, I'm just going to be calling it the Human Racehorse Derby or the Human Derby from here on forth to make things a lot simpler. Ishida, Kaiji rescues him and buys Ishida's life from servitude from the Yakuza after taking the money back from Ando and Furuhata, and essentially saves him from a lifetime of servitude, and then they go their separate ways. But earlier, Ishida had approached Kaiji and been like, "Hey, you're here too. We're gonna be stuck here, but I'm got a way out. My friend here is gonna save me." And here too, Ishida sees Kaiji in the third level basement that they're all waiting in. All 60 men are waiting in, and approaches him immediately out of comfort because Kaiji's a man he knows, a man who saved him. So he's like, "Oh, if I can be near Kaiji, I won't be alone in this." And I believe Kaiji acts accordingly and tells him to basically to fuck off, and they're enemies at this point. And also, going to two completely different characters, Endo and Tongawa, they both look similar, and their jobs being Yakuza middlemen are similar as well. They both consist of convincing unlucky individuals to sign into huge debt or take part in the particular Familia's twisted gambles. For what we'll soon find out, the winnings for our heroes, our characters, are life-saving amounts of money. But for this Familia and the guy at the top, it's not even peanut change to him. It's like boogers to him. And not only are their jobs similar, they look similar as well, with combed, strong, and slicked back flat tops and identical wrinkles, both constantly wearing smirks and suits. You can obviously tell that, one, they're professional, and two, they know how to do their job, and they know how to do it right. Now, the thing is, back to the big noses of Ando, Funai, and Ishida. Ando and Funai both betrayed Kaiji in the end, but the thing is, with Ishida also having a big nose, part of me thinks that is kind of connected as well, so he might betray Kaiji, but considering the way he's acted, both on and off the S-Bar, I don't think that's very likely, as well as considering his age, because he is described to be a fairly old man, and in the Kaiji live action adaptation, which I'm going to take with a grain of salt, he is fairly old as well, so I don't think he would have much a reason to fully betray Kaiji in a real life-death situation in front of his eyes. But then again, we'll have to wait for Volume 4 to confirm or deny these suspicions. But it is highly unlikely. Another thing is, Kaiji's outfit has had an upswing since the night on the S-Bar. And on the S-Bar, he wears a Japan Air Force jacket, which is kind of ironic, because at the time, especially now, I don't think anymore, actually, Japan after World War II, Japan was demilitarized, so I kind of think that's a little bit silly. But then again, it could just be a product of the times, just having something, hey, Air Force jacket. But then again, in Volume 3, and I'm going to assume Volume 4 as well, he is wearing a different jacket. It's probably is new because there is no Air Force patch on it, and I think there was frill on the Air Force one. But then again, like everything else, I could just be mistaken. He's also wearing different shoes. He was wearing sneakers. He still is wearing sneakers, but the sneakers had like lines on them in the original, in volumes 1 and 2. And this one, it looks like he's kind of wearing Vans style, low cut Vans in this one, as well as an added cap before while he's working. He wears a backwards baseball cap. To Fukumoto's credit, his writing has also had an upswing. For the time, at least here, Kaiji's consistent overthinking every step and breath is really gone, which I'm actually kind of happy about. But he still does think a lot, and a lot of the dialogue is written from Kaiji's mental point of view, which I'm fine with, especially in the beginning. He compares his job to running on a treadmill, because he's going to constantly earn money, but he's going to constantly throw it away and never get out of that hell. It's like running a marathon, but with no progress, is I believe how he describes it. But he also gains some sort of a reckless attitude, willing to take more risks at least, most notably in the very beginning of the volume, which I did not mention earlier, of course, because I was going to mention it here. Kaiji's boss suspects him of stealing an envelope that has 100,000 yen in it. And so to try and put himself out as being innocent in a weird way, he tells the boss that if he wants to check his bag for it, there's going to be 100,000 yen bet on the line. So if Kaiji doesn't contain the envelope, he's going to walk away home with 100,000 yen. But if it does, Kaiji's going to pay 200,000 yen, 100,000 for that's in the envelope, and an extra 100,000 for the bet. And then at that point, the boss just tells him to buzz off and go home. But that is a win for Kaiji at the time because, well, the envelope was in his bag, revealed by Kaiji's coworker who had planted it there, as well as Kaiji leaving with his job. Oh, and I should have written this in. I actually completely forgot, but Kaiji's coworker's name is Sahara. He's actually participated in the gamble as well. He's in a different group. Sahara was actually one of the winners of the first go-around. I'm not sure about the second round. We haven't gotten into it yet. But in the first go-around, Sahara was one of the 20 million yen winners. And so he is the one that brings up that them winning tickets instead of cash is bullshit. And so Sahara runs up to Kaiji and he's like, hey, the boss suspected me too, so I just quit. I didn't have it on me. And that tells Kaiji that it was Sahara that planted the envelope of yen within his bag. Because why would he quit on, one, a mere suspicion, and his coworker is kind of just never been alone, is always with Sahara or the boss. So there's no like ethical reason for her to take it, or real way for her to take it. So I mean, Kaiji is the only one with the bag. He's the only one that can take it, with it probably being snuck out, which is the correct guess. This short little interaction between both Kaiji's coworker Sahara and his boss showcases a dramatic change in Kaiji's character, not only in his working sense, but also in the betting sense. Kaiji used to just win money from games of poker, small sums of cash at that. But here, not only does Kaiji have a consistently paying job that he's able to keep with a bet, he's also puts a grand sum of money on something as flimsy and simple as a bag check that could easily cost him his job. And yet Kaiji still walks away the victor, as he keeps both the money and his job until the coworker follows suit, in which case they go out for drinks that night. And by the time Kaiji gets back to his house with his coworker in tow, actually, because of the prank I showcased in the little, hey, Kaiji 3's coming out little clip I posted a while ago. They meet up with Endo on the streets and learn about the Human Racehorse Derby, the new gamble that we actually just recounted. Now, that would normally be where we end the review with me giving a rating and just do a little overcap on why I liked it. But it turns out within my research, mostly done on fandom.com or Wikia, because those are they're fairly useful, because I could just go to Wikipedia again and just recount the same shit I did in the first two volumes, but I didn't want to do that. There's a Kaiji game. There's actually a lot of them. I think there's 7 or 8. But there is a Kaiji game that specifically takes place during the Human Racehorse Derby gamble. There's actually a lot that I do regret not knowing previously when I covered the first 2 Kaiji volumes, because there is a couple based off of the restricted rock, paper, scissors game. There's one on the DS, and I think there's one on the computer. I may go into them more in their own separate video or videos, but for now I'll go into the human resource gamble one. But let me know if that's something you'd like to see from me going over the different Kaiji games. Titled Kaiji, forget my pronunciation, Kaiji Hakagene Kosaten no Zetsubo, or Kaiji Steel Beam Crossing of Despair, is a PlayStation 4 VR game that was actually kind of recently ported to the Nintendo Switch, taking place during the Human Racehorse Derby gamble, entirely in Japanese. At the time of writing, I didn't know if, there is no release of it outside of Japan, and I don't have a Switch or a PlayStation VR setup, but there does seem to be a built-in English subtitles of some sort, kind of in the same vein of the Attack on Titan games, where the subs appear only under the speaker, not just at the blatant bottom of the screen. The walking controls are fairly standard. You use both of the sticks to move your feet, but you do tilt your controller to fix your balance, which from an outsider's perspective does seem pretty cool. You do play as Kaiji, going through both rounds of the Human Racehorse Derby, and sadly I couldn't find any English ratings or reviews since it is region locked, but from the images shown it does look pretty cool, since it's rendered in 3D graphics, three-dimensional animation. If anybody knows how I can get a copy, please let me know in the comments below. I'd actually love to do a full video on it. It does look really funky and cool with kind of average 3D modeling and rendering, but I can only find one video of actual gameplay, but for half of it they stand still and do nothing, so I can't get a proper feel of the game, which sucks, so yeah. But with all that said and done, I give the third volume of Kaiji Gambling Apocalypse an 8 out of 10. A wonderful read, but the pains of waiting and delays really wore this down for me. But I'm sure upon rereading, I can really do enjoy it as well. Also, let me know if what you think of this new, more voiceover style for my reviews, rather than just me sitting and spitting in front of a camera while showing you either by hand or by scrappy editing, pasting them on. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So yeah, that was my review for Kaiji 3. As I said, I am introducing this more type of voiceover style for my reviews. Let me know what you thought of them in the comments below, or if you'd like me to return to my old typical holding my camera in front of me while I hold the book and talk about it, while pasting images through iMovie or by showing them by hand. Let me know. I loved reading Kaiji 3, especially my second go around, because I could properly sit down and not rush read it on Christmas morning, ironically, just to get that video out. But yeah, please let me know what you think of this, and also, as typical, what other series I should review. Make sure to leave a like and comment, and I am your boy, your host, Sloppy of the Weeb Corner, with a real mic, real YouTuber shit going on, and I will see you all in the next one.